work, one whole day to play. Come on, everybody, wear your roller skates today. It's Saturday, 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 it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, Saturday, it's Saturday, yeah.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Career Exploration Saturday. I'm your host, Ebony Tyler. I have real conversations with real people about real jobs. This week's episode is sponsored by Just Hoodies. Get hoodies for the entire family. Just Hoodies has hoodies for adults, for kids, and for fur babies. The dog hoodies are so adorable. Just Hoodies is Black owned, and you can get your hoodies at justhoodies.org and follow them on Instagram at shopjusthoodies. All right, so this week my guest is Alysia Christiani. Alysia is a producer, a project manager, a content creator, and the founder of a Caribbean film festival in Miami. We talk specialized high schools, and Alysia gives us some great advice to parents on how to support their children in the arts. All right, let's jump right in. Good afternoon. Welcome, Alysia. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you. Welcome to Career Exploration Saturday. How are you?
Well, thank you for having me. I've been very excited to be here today.
Yay. Okay, so, we like to start off all the conversations, tell us who you were at 16. We knew each other when when you were 16. But tell me, did you have it all together? Did you know what you wanted to be?
16, I was in high school, and academically, I had it all together. I was a great student. I had a nice circle of friends. I was very happy. But I didn't really think much beyond the next immediate step. So I didn't really know what I wanted to be, other than it needed to do something with the arts, reading, writing. Those are the things I really was into. But I was just trying to get to college. I'd figure out when I get there.
But you went to a really, you went to the top New York City public school. I mean, listen, shout it out. Where were you? How'd you get there? And what was it like being there in the 90s?
Well, I went to Stuyvesant High School, as you know. How did I get there? I think my mother was I didn't pay much attention. I mean, I paid attention in school and I was good at school, but I didn't realize these things existed. So my mother was very focused on our education, and she found the pathway, and she sent us to extracurricular classes and all kind of stuff, and took a test, and I ended up in there. And it was a great experience. In the 90s, there was a much bigger population of Black and brown people. I mean, it wasn't huge. It was a school of 3,000 some odd kids, and there were 40 of us, 50 of us. Mm-hmm. But it was large enough where I felt comfortable. I had my people, and it was a good time. And weirdly enough, I was not a strong math or science student.
Oh.
But yeah, but I was an excellent literature, reading, writing, that kind of thing student. So that balanced me out, and that's, I think, what really got me in. So that's where my strength lied, and I loved it. I had a great time. It was an eye-opening experience. The first time I traveled into the city, first time I took the train, first time I got to know people outside my neighborhood and people outside of the Black community. It was a great time.
I mean, yeah, because we grew up in a very Black neighborhood.
Yes, very. Everyone pretty much was Black. I mean,
everybody.
I remember when I first moved on my block, it was predominantly white, and then within a year, they were all gone.
Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah. So I'm curious, as a specialized high school alumni person, and it's such a big thing in New York, the specialized high school test. Should they do away with it? Should they keep it? I want to know, what's your thoughts on it being an alumni? And then, I'm a parent of a kid who goes to a specialized high school.
I only started reflecting on it when my kids, we started doing the high school search, and I felt like, well, of course you gotta apply, right? You gotta follow in mom's footsteps. And then then seeing it from the outside, I was like, this is crazy. I thought it was insane, the pressure and just the day of the test, how many people, when we toured the school, I was just like, I was blown away by how it's changed and grown and evolved. But it became clear that this wasn't the place for my kid. I mean, he took the test anyway, he didn't get in, but, and that I just feel like it's a great experience for those who get in, but it's not the end all and be all. And I don't like that there's this rat race in education here in the city where, you know, you don't make it. I almost felt like I didn't want to tell people he didn't get in. Like, and I was like, why do I feel like that? Because there are plenty of other great schools and there's other avenues to get great education. So I feel like there's a buildup and a hype and a whole ecosystem around specialized schools that are not necessarily warranted and does active harm.
It is a lot of pressure to take that exam.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that the exam is, I don't think it's fair because of the way that the math shows up on it. You know, like it's 8th grade math that, you know, a lot of public school kids may not be exposed to that math until like in April, and you take the test in October. And the test is a little rigged, and you have to actually prepare for the exam. You have to be in a prep program. Yeah. So that part of it to me isn't fair. It doesn't open up access to everyone.
You need to be preparing for like almost years in advance. Like you need to know that this is something you want for your kid, and you need to set their lives up, you know, 3 to 4 years in advance, so to get to the place where they're prepared and ready, unless they're just some, you know, natural genius or something like that. And that's unfair to a majority of parents in the city. You know, that's not realistic. And as much as, you know, they share information about the test, it's shocking how many people don't know these schools exist, or don't know that you can have access, or don't know what it takes to prep for the test, don't know that they need to prep. It's unfair all around. It's unfair all around.
Yeah. Yeah. So, getting back to you, you, you went to the school. Did they help you a lot with like selecting what college to go to? Was there a lot of, or did your mom, because mom was, you know, very involved in your education, did she help you figure out what college to go to?
It was predominantly mom, my mother, and my godmother. I mean, we had guidance counselors, and you know, they helped. But in my memory, Stuyvesant was a place where they catered to. Supposedly, we were the best, but they catered to the best of the best, right? You know, the students who were cream of the crop and did excellent, and you know, they helped everyone. But if you weren't super self-motivated and super proactive, you could easily get lost in the pack. So my mom and my godmother, I remember sitting down with them on the weekends, like, all right, these are the colleges, let's go through, you know, these are, you know, and helping me write essays. And the school helped, but because I wasn't in that top 10% of the school, I don't think I got the attention that others did.
Mm-hmm. So mom and godmom got you into Fordham. I mean,
well, to be clear, I went to SUNY Buffalo first.
Oh, okay.
I went to SUNY Buffalo for 2 years because I was like, I'm going away to school. I'm going to be in the dorms. I want that whole experience. And my mother cried when I left, and it was a great experience, but it was a culture shock. And after 2 years, I learned a lot about myself. I'm not a fan of huge classrooms. I'm not a fan of big, huge campuses, and I miss the city, you know, and, you know, snow 24/7, and like, I couldn't take it anymore. So I transferred. I moved back home and I transferred to Fordham University, the campus at Lincoln Center.
Oh, okay. How was that? How was Fordham? What'd you study?
I studied media studies, which is kind of an overview of the arts in general. My thought at the time was I was going to be a big time movie director. I didn't really understand what that entailed. For a long time, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be in the arts. And so this degree gave me a little more direction. I did a lot of internships that really helped. Interned at a lot of like Conan O'Brien show or theater companies. That was really the best part of coming back to the city. Really helped me figure out narrow down kind of where in the arts I wanted to be and exposed me to what jobs existed. Because you say the arts and it's like, you don't grow up, I didn't grow up with the arts as a job. Like, what does that mean? You want to be a writer? And then how do you pay your bills? Right. So that whole experience at Fordham really helped me figure out what existed and where should I belong.
Can you share a little bit about the internships you did?
Yeah. And almost every semester I had an internship. So for instance, at the Conan O'Brien show was one of my favorites. I was, I think, a production intern, basically do whatever they tell you to do, you know, from get coffee to set up the stage to reading scripts. I was an intern at a theater company called Playwrights Horizons, which did lots of, actually it did lots of independent plays from Black and Brown people. I found really interesting. I was a receptionist, but I got to meet a lot of great people and learn the business. I interned at a theater development company, which was like basically a big time producer. And I would read scripts and give my opinion and discuss, you know, why I think you should develop these or not, and just really learn the ins and outs of theater production. Those are the three main ones I remember. But yeah, I tried to just keep my toe in the business and figure out where I belonged and what I should be doing once I graduated.
So fast forward, I mean, what are you doing now? Like, how would you describe your occupation? Because, you know, you sent me a resume and it's like producer, project manager, content creator. I'm like, okay, so Alysia's like all things media?
I'm kind of a generalist. So at my core is producer, project manager. So what that means for me is that I am the woman that helps a project go from concept through execution. And the areas that I generally focus on are either events, live events, not so much now because of COVID, or print production, which is producing print ads, billboards, things of that nature. And now what I'm doing more of is digital production. So the company where I work at now, we were an events company. So now we've pivoted because of COVID to online YouTube programs, basically. And so creating graphics and the promos to help get those out into the atmosphere and get people knowing what's happening. And then also anything else involved. So we have a global education program, like students, like really super smart mathematics students from around the world can get online together and go through this 2-year program. So now we need to prove to our funders that this program was effective and why you should give us more money for the next 2 years. So I manage the process of putting together the document, this like 20-page digital report on how we did so well. And now when you think about it, that doesn't seem like a big deal. So you put some report together, but break it down, like what it takes. You got to find someone to write it. You got to find someone to design it. You got to figure out where's it going to live, how much you're willing to pay to get it done. How long does it take? You know, does it have to be done by this date because you have to get it to this person? Do you need several versions of it? So figuring out all of that process so that the stakeholders above me don't have to think about those details is where I flourish, is what I enjoy.
Okay, yeah, because that was a question, like, what exactly is project management? Because you hear a lot of people say that they're in project management, and you're just like, okay, so what exactly do you do? But you broke it down really, really nicely, so thank you. And then you also do social media management. That's a little bit more than just
so
posting,
the only
right?
reason I'm into that now, I mean, I have my own personal social media, which I love, but it's way different than doing it for a business. So where I am at now, because of COVID, it was a 4-person marketing department. In 2 months, in the 2 months, I started right before the pandemics in March. So within the first 2 months, 3 people were let go or left. So I'm the entire marketing department. So before they had someone to do social media, and so now it's on me. So social media marketing or social media management really means coming up with strategies to get your business on social media in an effective manner. Like, you don't want to be on Twitter just to be on Twitter, talking to the universe, and then you're wasting time, right? Like, if I have 3 hours in a day to spend on social media, I have to be effective with that time. So I need to have a plan on what I'm going to do, why I'm going to do it, and then the materials needed to make it happen. So if I'm going to send out 3 tweets about this program that's going to come out next week and why you should, tune in, I have to create the graphics for it. I have to write the copy for it. I got to get it cleared by all my managers. And then I have to schedule it. And then I have to, double check and make sure everything goes out correctly. And does it meet our business need? And then afterward, measure the analytics. How many people saw it? How many people interacted? Did anyone retweet? Did anyone reply? Do I need to reply to them? Then decide, well, what are we going to reply? Did a crazy person reply, and should we ignore them? Or did someone of importance reply? And now we need to tag an institution that they're related to get more visibility on this. It's a lot. Social media management is a lot. So I don't want people to think you're just on Facebook or Twitter playing around. It's business strategy.
Yeah, because you have to also sometimes like time it, right?
Right.
Like if you tweet in the morning, are people engaged in the morning or in the afternoon?
Right. You have to know your audience. My company is a science education based company. So when are people, we have a huge audience in India, for example. So we need to time our things so that our Indian audience will be up and can interact. Because our U.S. audience is not as large, so we're catering more to the Indian audience, things like that.
Wow, it's your job seems or your profession it seems very intricate, right? So like, yeah, you're creative, but you also have to have like some real concrete skills that you bring to the table to be able to execute others' ideas.
Yes, that's what I love about it, because it's like, it's the intersection of, right brain, what are the numbers? What's the budget? When does it need to go out? Who needs to see it? Who needs to sign off? And left brain, how is it aesthetically pleasing? Do the colors match our brand guidelines? This designer is really good at web, so we're going to go with her versus him. So it's a merging of the two halves of my personality. And I'm really happy I discovered that this thing existed, because for a long time I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Where am I just going to have random jobs? And then slowly over time, I would say from my first job out of college, I was an admin assistant at the NFL it took maybe 6 or 7 years, and it started to gel for me. Oh, this is my skill set. This is what I'm good at. And these are the places where I can plug in and bring something good to the table, as well as learn something.
So speaking of learning, you know a lot in terms of software.
Yes.
How did you get all of those skills? Did you like sign up for some online classes? Did you learn them on the job?
Yes, to all of that. So I work a lot with, so most of the software I know is design software or social media management software. And so as a project manager, I manage the people that use those things. So I needed to know enough to know when, if someone says, well, I can't do that they're just, yeah, you can, right? I know, or I can help you. I know another way, or, you just need to be knowledgeable about whatever industry you're in. So I would get familiar that way. I would speak with them. I'm like, well, what are you doing? And how do you do this? And what is this program about? And then I just started on my own going to classes. I would take online classes, or at the time, there were places in the city you could go to and take an afternoon class or a 2-week series, get a quick certificate. I bought the programs, I took them home, I'd fiddle around. But I found a lot that you needed actual projects to really practice. So I would volunteer for things. So my PTA needed a flyer done. So I'd say, I'll do it. And then I would, get on open Photoshop and figure out how to get this flyer done. And, they're quite janky at first, but over time, and you just your skill set is not, when you learn something, you don't just learn it and that's it. You're continually growing because the software changes, the industry changes, people's needs change. So you're constantly going back online, going to take another class, taking another webinar, and upping your skills. So over time, my janky little flyers became a little side business now where I have a couple clients I do websites for, I do flyers for, I do social media graphics for. So, and then in my 9 to 5, I can always say at this job, they're like, oh, you know these things? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not a full-fledged designer, but I can definitely jump in a pinch when you need me.
Nice, nice. You know, we always talk about having things in our toolbox when you need to use them. So speaking of side hustles and side businesses, tell us about Caribbean Film Academy and how you co-founded an arts festival, a film festival in Guyana.
Yeah, that little thing. So like I said, back in the day when I was young and starry-eyed, I wanted to be a film director. I wanted to work in film somehow, but I wasn't quite sure how and where. And over time, that, because the need to make money superseded everything, that kind of fell away. So one day I was just like perusing Facebook and I saw an event that said a Caribbean film screening. I was like, Caribbean film, is that a thing? I didn't even know that's a thing. Let me go. It was like 10 people in a storefront watching these movies. And I was blown away. I was like, I didn't know this existed. So I started talking to the 2 people that, you know, had set up the event, asking more questions. And then I was like, well, if you guys ever need help with anything, I'd love to help. And at the time, actually, I was working with a youth arts initiative in Guyana. And so I had a connection to people on the ground there. And we were just getting ready to figure out, well, what's our next community, you know, outreach thing that we're going to do with the kids? And it's like, maybe it could be film. So there was this connection there. And just over time, I would volunteer and help them out and, you know, set up a screening and learn more about the business of putting together a screening or a festival. And 6 years later now, Caribbean Film Academy, actually, we just merged with a Caribbean media collective in Miami. We're soon to be known as Third Horizon. And we have several film festivals under our belt in the States and in the Caribbean. We're now doing online screenings, producing some films. And so my dream from 25 years ago is coming to fruition in this fashion. And now I have all these skills that I've built up over the years I can use for this initiative that I'm really, it's not a money-making thing, but it's a passion project I'm really, really happy about and really proud of.
It fills you up.
Yeah, girl, 9 to 5 is not everything. You got to think of the whole person, you know? Once you knock off of work, what makes you happy? What fulfills you? So that's what I'm trying to do.
I like it. So do you have any advice for a young person or a parent who their child is, you know, into arts, but can't really figure out how that young person is going to take the next step and make a living? Any advice for that young person, for that parent? Like, how can a parent support a child who's artsy, but not really making art?
Right.
Not on the stage, not what we traditionally think it should look like.
Right. So I think what's important is to understand that whatever the field of arts you're interested in, music, film, television, whatever, you have to look beyond the very first thing in front of you, right? So television, you know, there's a whole industry behind whatever it is you're looking at beyond the actor, right? You don't have to be a movie star to be successful in that industry. And I learned to break this down, honestly, when I've been laid off several times in my career. So, which, just so you guys know, there's nothing to be ashamed of when you're laid off. It's not personal, it's a business thing, right? Sometimes they just don't need you anymore, but you have to learn how to bounce back from that. And what I learned during one of these times is that there's an industry behind everything. You know, like my cell phone, there are several industries behind this. So it's the same thing with the arts. I think a lot of times parents have this block where it's like, you want to be in the music industry, what are you gonna be, a rapper? A singer? You can't rap and sing, what are you talking about? I'm like, but stop and think about, what does it take to get that rapper or singer out there? There's a manager, there are accountants. Like, you can take your most plain Jane boring jobs and just plug it into that industry. There are accountants, there are road managers, there are stylists, there are lighting people. Like I knew a girl once who I went to school with who was a lighting director. And I was like, what does that mean? She was like, well, when you go to shows, theater shows, someone has to be in charge of how the lights work and deciding what colors and how bright and when they come on and off. She's like, that's the whole industry. And I was like, I never even thought of that. So I would just encourage people to actually take a moment to study the industry and what it takes to make it happen, because there's a slew of jobs and gigs behind it. And if you can go to, well, now everything's online, but conferences for that. So for instance, my kids for a moment were interested in the music industry. And that's not my passion. I don't know nothing about it. But so I was like, well, how am I going to help them? And Diddy, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, whatever, had a conference a couple years ago called Revolt Summit. So I bought us tickets. We went to Miami and I was like, here, spend the next 3 days going to these. And it was a very professional, they had, breakout sessions and moderators and all kinds of fireside chats about the industry, about the behind the scenes. I said, go learn, come back every night. We'll talk about it and see if this is something you really want to do. And ultimately they decided, no, this ain't for us. But they had to know, but how would they know that unless you dug in behind the scenes? Because all they knew was rapping. Mom, we're going to the studio. I'm like, really? You're going to the studio to do what? I was like, all right, I'm not going to crush your soul. I'm not going to crush your passion, but let's learn more about it. So, it was a phase for them. They learned a lot and they decided it's not for me, but you really have to dig in behind the scenes and figure out what is it that it takes to make that industry come to life, because there's probably something in there for you.
Okay, final question.
Yeah.
How can we support you? How can we learn more about your work? How can we find out about your film festivals? I mean, I'm prayerful that we will get through COVID, and that, life will not necessarily return, but we'll definitely be able to start to engage more outside of our home. So how can we support your work?
Well, if you guys want to take a look, so Caribbean Film Academy has transitioned into the Third Horizon Media Collective. So our online platforms are, we're on Facebook and we're Instagram and Twitter at Third, THIRD, Horizon. On Instagram and Twitter, that would be HRZN. And then Facebook, it's the whole Horizon. And we also have a video on demand platform where you can watch films online, either for free or for a small fee, called studioanansi.tv. So studioanansi.tv. It's basically like a mini Netflix for Caribbean film.
Ooh.
So check it out. There's big things happening in Caribbean film.
Alysia,
yes,
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I hope I was helpful.
Thank you so much, Alysia. So some takeaways are: identify your skill set and hone it. You don't just learn something, you must put it into practice. Then continuously grow. And this applies to any industry. 2, look beyond the industry. Look beyond TV, music, and art. There are so many jobs behind every industry, and internships are an excellent way to discover where you want to be. And 3, your 9 to 5 doesn't define you. Find what fills you up and what brings you joy. Thank you so much, Alysia, and welcome to the Liberated Success family. Folks, follow and support Alysia's work at Third Horizon, the Caribbean Filmmaking Collective. So I am super excited that our impact project, Liberated Problem Solvers, will be launching in the spring. We are fully funded for the student stipends, and we could not have done this without your support. I encourage you to support Black nonprofits this Black History Month. Ways you can support Liberated Success. Ways you can support our work is to sponsor a podcast episode, sponsor a cohort of Liberated Problem Solvers. And remember, all donations are tax deductible and no donation is too small. Thank you for watching and listening all the way to the end. You know where the links are in my bios and the comments. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can make a donation via listener support. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. All right, wear your mask, wash your hands, physically distance, and all Black Lives Matter. See you next week. Goodbye.
One whole day to play. Come on, everybody.